Today's project is installing a backup camera in a 2005 Ford Expedition. This is the camera that I'm working to install. Alright, here is the camera installed on the trim piece that holds the license plate lights. That's where the license plate goes. I had to take this piece off of the tailgate, and to do that I had to take apart part of the inside of take all the trim off the inside of the tailgate, so I will show you that and how I put the camera in. Alright, here's the underside of the tailgate, and I've pulled the trim piece off. Behind the trim piece is plastic, which you have to peel back a little bit. The bolts, they're nuts, they're 4 threaded rods on the underside of that trim piece where I mounted the camera. And the nuts that hold them in place are behind the plastic. So, try to get a better view in there. You just see the little nuts. There's 2 of them visible here, and there's 2 on the other side behind the plastic. They're very easy to get at once you've got the trim piece off. Okay, so here's how you get that trim piece off to get access to those bolts. You need to open the rear glass, and you need to remove these 2 pop rivets. Unscrew and pull them out however you get them off. These are already loosened, that's why it's easy for me to pull them off. So, open up the hatch. And start popping off, just pulling the plastic. This is easy because I've already got it pulled off, but you can use some of those trim removal tools, wedge under there, pull until you feel the resistance, and then loosen the clip. I had to kind of look in there and see where the clip was so that I knew where to leverage, how to pull. And they held on pretty tight. Sometimes I was slipping a screwdriver in to push on the metal part, which would help them pop off. So just work carefully all the way across and remove all of those. And then once they're off, you can just slide this piece off. So once you have access to the underside here, just loosen all of these nuts, carefully not dropping them. Okay, once the 4 nuts are taken off from the inside of the tailgate, this piece comes off pretty easily. There's a couple of I don't know what you call them. They don't have. They just pop out. They're clips. Here are the 4 threaded rods that the nuts go on the other side, and this wiring is for the latch that releases the tailgate glass. And these sockets hold the lights for the license plate. So when I took this piece off, this is actually a replacement part. When I took the original off, these sockets just shattered. So it's part of the reason I bought this replacement part, which I didn't buy brand new because it was very expensive from Ford. So I got a piece from a pick-apart place. And here's where I installed the camera. I'll show you how I did that on the other piece. This rubber boot comes off. You need to take it off so you can drill a hole for the camera wire. This is a camera wire. I couldn't fit it through the original hole that the wiring went through for this switch and for the lights. I had to drill another hole. So that's why you have to take this rubber boot off. Okay, this is the wiring boot on the inside of the tailgate. And this is the camera wire that I've gotten through. The fatter one is the original wiring harness, and that's the one that comes down here to a little socket. And there's the socket. And you just need to unclip that from the socket so that you can remove the boot, so that you can drill the hole for the camera and put the camera in. Alright, here is the original trim piece. This is the one that I replaced, but I took it off. And here's what the underside looks like. Two things you have to do to this piece. You need to drill a hole for the camera. This is a logical place to fit it, because otherwise it would conflict with this. Let's see. So, camera hole gets drilled here, like I said, so then it doesn't conflict with this socket switch, whatever. And then you need to drill a hole through this rubber boot. Okay, so I've got this ready to drill. I want to show you that I put this piece of wood in here to support that empty space. So I was worried about cracking the plastic when I drilled through it. So that's why that piece of wood is there. Here's my cordless drill with the hole saw. Center the drill on the mark. So we got the pilot hole through. There. There's the hole for the camera. It comes in this way. And then we'll get the wire to go through, drill another hole for the wiring boot, send the wire through. So now we're back to the vehicle and the part that's already on. So here's that hole we just drilled. Camera goes up through the hole. Here's the wire. Here's the boot. This is the wire that comes from the camera. This is what you have to drill the hole in the rubber boot for. This part is narrower, this part is fatter. I drilled a hole roughly the diameter to accommodate this wire, figuring the rubber would move a little bit, which it did, but I put liquid soap on the front end of this. Otherwise the friction to push it through the boot was, I couldn't overcome it. So a little bit of liquid soap on there. Alright, we've had to switch to nighttime work. You got to work on projects when you have time. This is the wire for the camera coming in the tailgate, following the existing wiring and coming to here, which is, well, there's another connector supplied with the camera, this connector, which goes to this wire, which goes to video and power and ground for the camera. The video has to be connected to whatever the display is. In my case, it's the radio. And the power I'm connecting to the reverse light so that it will power the camera when I go in reverse. The ground also gets connected to the ground on the reverse light. So the trick has been running these wires to the tail, to all the way from the radio. That's the video all the way from the radio, and there also needs to be a trip that indicates you've gone into reverse for the radio, so the radio can start displaying the camera. So we've painstakingly run those wires through to the tailgate, and this is where the power and the ground to the camera terminates. In a second I'll show the rest of the route for the wires. Alright, definitely this was the hardest part about adding this camera to this car, was running the wires. So you've got two wires. This is a trip wire. It's the power wire going to the back of the radio that tells the radio that the car's gone into reverse and you need to turn the camera on and to start displaying the camera on the screen of the radio. run that all the way from the radio along the floorboards up on the inside of essentially the trunk of the car. Now it needs to come, this needs to come out to the tailgate, because we're going to run it down the tailgate to the reverse light so that it'll be powered when the reverse light comes on. Also needed to run this video cable from the video input for the camera on the radio all the way to the back. As luck would have it, it was too short to reach over to the connector on the camera, so I had to buy a extension from Radio Shack. I have fed the extension through the trunk up here into this boot, which carries all the wires from inside the vehicle to the tailgate. And I pulled the boot out, tailgate, and here, and I used a fish wire to fish so that I could then pull the wires through. I ended up with, this is just some electrical wire that I had that's solid, and therefore it will hold its shape pretty well, but it's also reasonably thin. So it was stiff enough to push through, but thin enough. Took me a couple attempts, but I got it through, made a hook, hooked my other wire, and then, as you can see, taped it so I could pull it through. And then doing that, I had to, with my hand and with my little tool here, I stretched this rubber boot to try to straighten this angle out as much as possible and push it through. So that was definitely the hardest part. But it gets the wire from inside, through the boot, up through here, and into the tailgate. And now we're going to attach it. We're going to attach this power wire to the power for the camera, and there's a ground wire that also has to go to the camera. So this ground wire is going to go to the ground wire on the reverse light, power to the reverse light, and then the camera will turn on and the radio will display it when the go into reverse. Alright, this is the red is power, black is ground, of course. This is the power and the ground coming from the camera. That's what I'm going to attach to power going to the radio, indicating the car's gone into reverse, and here's ground. And we'll attach both of these to those, and then one other end of this power and ground will go to the reverse light. Okay, so wiring is complete. The video is connected. Here we've got our power and ground, and the video coming along up here. Here's where we have spliced the power wire to the camera. This is a loop. It's coming from the radio, and then it's going down into the tailgate, through the boot, down into the trunk of the car, down this side piece here, and there's an access hole in the trunk, and I could get my hand in there and help push the wires from here through the hole, pushing a little bit, opening this up a little bit enough to get it out down into where the rear light goes. And the wire comes through. I have to drill another hole through the boot there. Brought through the power wire, ground wire. This is the socket for the reverse lamp. We used our quick splices to splice in, and those are all the wiring connections. Now I'm going to reinstall the tail light. I'm going to put all my trim in, and I'm done. I just wanted to show the whole wiring run. So the wire comes out of the back of there, and I fed it underneath, and this is the power wire, this is the video wire. I ran them underneath the steering wheel all the way across, and then dipped into this behind this trim piece here that just pops off, and then it's coming down through here, and I'll show you how I got this particular trim piece off. So here's the trim removal tool. Here's the wire. And I wanted to put them underneath this metal plate, but I just could not fit it. There's a whole bunch of wiring in there, so I just laid it down, and since I figure it's covered with this plastic piece, it'll hold up. Wire continues underneath this piece here. That just, again, all these pieces just pop off. They're really easy to take off. So we go to the back. I can show how that piece also pops off. Here are the two wires again. Now I got to here and that wasn't so bad. And then you get to getting it further, and this piece, this trim piece, doesn't really come off, so I was kind of stumped for a minute. And here's this big piece as seen from the trunk. First I thought about trying to fish the wire, but then I realized, of course, I'm running into the wheel well, so that pretty much forget it. Then, luckily, I figured out that this cup holder pops off, so popped it off with the trim tool, and then I have access to the inside, and was able to run the wire, there's the video wire, up the wheel well through this access, and then all the way back. Also back here in the trunk, if you have this little storage cubby, this can also be popped out. And if you do that, you have an even larger access to the wheel well to run your wires. In fact, it gives you a little bit better access all the way to the backlight there. But that piece, this little hatch piece, is a lot harder to pop off, although it gives you a good chance to clean it. Well, also I realized that by taking off that larger piece, I get access to this existing wiring, and so I picked up my wires and zip tied them to there. It's just cleaner, not having wires dangling in there. So I guess that's another advantage of pulling off the larger piece, even though it was definitely harder to get off than the cup holder. Alright, so here's the deal. There we go. Backup camera is on. This one had the option of the parking grids. They don't really line up with the vehicle edges, so in that sense they're not super useful. But for now I'm keeping them. You can get rid of them by cutting there's a wire you can cut. Well, this is really helpful because I'm backing up to this van, and without the camera I would have stopped already, but clearly I've got more space. Oh yeah, this is awesome. Wow. So that's the view in the camera. You see that super well, but that's the view in the rear view mirror. I don't think I would have felt okay going that far back. Now I think what I'm going to do is go look at the gap. There's the gap between me and the guy behind me. Not that I would want to beat him and get out with that little of a gap, but it's helpful to know how far back you can go. And once again, there's the camera. So I think it looks really nice. It's very unobtrusive.
and I'm happy with it.